Type 1 diabetes community, we have an update from Breakthrough T1D. They seem to have heard us and they have responded to our pleas for their help. Breakthrough just put out this message about an hour ago, and I just want to go through these slide by slide and clarify to the community what I believe they are trying to say to us. So today is the first time that Breakthrough T1D has ever publicly even said the term ISLET Act out loud. This is the first time they have spoken about it, so that's a good thing. On this next slide, they give a little history that they have been the leading organization that has supported islet transplantation and has committed hundreds of millions of dollars to this work. That is all true. Okay, this next slide is probably the most important slide they put out today, and I think there's been a little confusion in the community, so listen closely. They say, while we support the intent of the ISLET Act to make more donor-derived islets available, we believe the better path forward is working with HHS towards this goal. We are committed to doing that work along with the community and longtime scientific and medical collaborators. Remember, you guys, the ISLET Act is going to do one thing for us. It's going to change pancreatic donor islet cells from the classification of a drug to an organ so that they can be eligible for reimbursement, so that insurance will pay for it and make it widely available to people with type 1 diabetes in the United States. That's our end goal. That's what we want to get done. There are two ways that we can make that happen. The first one is through the actual ISLET Act that is sitting in Washington, D.C. right now with the Senate, and nothing's being done with it so far. If that were to get voted out of the Help Committee onto the Senate floor and then voted to the House, and it passed the Senate and House, then it would make it to the President's desk for a signature and it would become law. That is one path forward. The other path forward is to work through HHS and RFK Jr. He has the authority as the Secretary of HHS to simply reclassify pancreatic donor islet cells from a drug to an organ. He himself has the authority to do that. Going through HHS is the much cleaner and quicker way to get this done. The Secretary of HHS can simply reclassify the way that we are treating pancreatic donor islet cells. He can say, instead of regulating them as a drug, we're going to regulate them as an organ from now on. And therefore, insurance would start to pay for them. They can do that quickly. We know that HHS has the authority to do this for us because they did it in 2013. There is something called a vascularized composite allograft, like hand and face transplants, that were previously being regulated and classified as a drug. And that was incorrect as well. And HHS came in and they snapped their fingers and they reclassified those to an organ. The exact same thing we are asking them to do with pancreatic islet cells. And so in 2013, they went from the biologic or drug pathway right over to the organ pathway. And now they are regulated as an organ, as they should be, just like we are asking them to do for pancreatic islet cells. So they can do this. Their next slide says that their ultimate goal is to transform type 1 diabetes management and cure it. This includes manufacturing cell therapies that cure type 1 at large scale with reduced or no immunosuppression, so many more people can benefit from them. And to support those efforts, they launched Project ACT in 2024, which was a $350 million initiative to further accelerate the availability of cell therapies to provide cures for type 1 diabetes. On their next slide, they say that they acknowledge that more work can and should be done to ensure more people have access to currently available deceased donor islet therapies. These two words right here are basically the heart of this entire issue: currently available. We have pancreatic donor islet cells that are currently available to cure people with type 1 diabetes. That's what this is all about. That's what we are asking Breakthrough T1D for their help with, so that we can have access to these currently available islet cells that are just being thrown away every day right now. So basically what I believe Breakthrough T1D is saying here is that their ultimate goal is for us to be able to have stem cell derived islet cells that can be mass produced, that can be scaled out in the billions of quantities, just pumped out endlessly, so that everybody could potentially be cured of type 1 diabetes. But they recognize that that is still a work in progress. Think about companies like Vertex that are working on this right now. I know that it's a very difficult thing to be able to scale these stem cell islets on a massive scale. I hope that Vertex is able to do it and that they're successful, but I know that it's a very difficult thing to be able to do. So Breakthrough T1D is acknowledging that and saying that they are now going to support efforts with currently available deceased donor islet therapies. On the next slide, they recognize that only a small percentage of people with type 1 diabetes would even be eligible for an islet cell transplant because of the lifelong immunosuppression that it would require. They're talking about tacrolimus here, you guys. Tacrolimus is a terrible drug. It's toxic to your kidneys, it's toxic to your nervous system, causes tremors, causes type 2 diabetes, and eventually it'll cause your islet cell transplant to fail because it's toxic to the beta cells themselves that produce insulin. It won't last somebody their entire lifetime because of that. And they're recognizing that. But what they say next is the major game changer that's going on right in front of us right now. They are talking about Eledon's new drug tegoprubart that is about 1,000 times better than tacrolimus. It is not toxic to the nervous system, to the kidneys. It's not toxic to the beta cells that they are protecting. It is extremely exciting. It has cured several people of type 1 diabetes, and none of these patients are experiencing any toxicities or side effects. They're just straight up cured of type 1 diabetes and living their absolute best life. You guys have been probably watching Katie and Chris's videos on TikTok. Go to their pages and watch their videos, you guys. They're cured of type 1 diabetes. They have no toxicities. They have no side effects. They're doing phenomenally well. So this new drug from Eledon that's being trialed right now, this is the game changer. This is the reason why the ISLET Act is such a big issue right now. We have a new drug that can protect these islet cells phenomenally well and in a very safe way. Let's get some cells and combine it with Eledon's drug that are available to us right now. That's what's going on right now. And then they finish with this slide where they say we are paving the pathway for scalable solutions like manufactured cell therapies using reduced or no immunosuppression that will expand access to many more people with type 1 diabetes. What they're saying here is that they're working on stem cell-based islets, but they also recognize that it's a work in progress and it might take some time before we are able to have companies pump these cells out in the millions and billions of quantities that it's going to take to cure the entire world. So in the meantime, we should be using pancreatic donor islet cells that are available to us right now. And it sounds like Breakthrough T1D is going to start supporting not just the ISLET Act, but a quicker way for us to get there through HHS. So that's what I believe they are trying to tell the community today. And I'm going to try to reach out to them and see if I am off on this messaging at all. But that's the way I take this. And it's very encouraging and exciting that they put out this message today. So Breakthrough, we are thankful for this messaging today, but we're watching you close now to see if you actually come through with what you've said today. So thank you for hearing us and for responding to us, but we are watching closely right now, your next actions. You guys, I just want to finish with this. Eledon's new drug tegoprubart that is being trialed right now to cure type 1 diabetes, that is the reason why we are even having this conversation. If the best option we still had was horrible tacrolimus that's been used for the past 30 years, that is just a garbage drug, if that was the best we had, I wouldn't even be pushing for the ISLET Act. I wouldn't be pushing for islet cell transplant. But because of Eledon's new drug, that is why I'm pushing for it, because we have a safe way to cure type 1 diabetes now. That is really what's going on here, you guys. It's all about Eledon's new drug. And Breakthrough T1D is supporting Eledon. They are helping pay for this trial. So I'm grateful for that as well. But you guys, Eledon is the reason for all of this.